Hi, welcome to Local Flavor. I'm Deborah Anderson and I'm here at Willer's in Phillipsburg. And we're in the real commercial kitchen, so if you hear the vent and exhaust, that's because we're actually invited right into the kitchen. I'm here with Scott and Eric, who both work here, and today they're going to make us a steak with scallion butter and some glazed carrots. So what would you start with first if you were going to make this?
Okay, first I would start off with the scallion butter. And what we're going to do with that is we're using a food processor today. Now I talked briefly with Deborah about this. I don't know if you could split this recipe in half or cut it in half and use a blender. I've never used a blender, but I think if your butter is soft enough, you might be able to use a blender. But we're going to be using today a food processor, and we'll start off with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in 2 sticks of softened butter, and it really needs to be softened. So if you're planning on doing this recipe, you probably want to give it at least maybe 3 to 4 hours, maybe sitting out, just so it can soften.
Okay, and if it tastes as good as these ingredients are smelling, I don't think anyone would want to have this recipe.
I think, well, I tell you what, oddly enough, we have a radio broadcaster here in town that usually comes here on Thursday night, and he caught my wife here a couple weeks ago, and he said, well, I know you do this with the sirloin, but is it possible that you could maybe have this available for the other steaks? And I thought, oh, that's a lot more work than what I ever intended this to be, but it is very, very good. It's something that just makes it a little different. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add roughly about 1/3 cup of chopped green onion.
Okay.
And then my next step, what I'll do is, this is roughly about 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. And I just try to spread it around there a little bit and put that in.
Now you have got that garlic so smooth. How did you do that?
Well, I tell you what, Deborah, what I did, I get garlic already in a container, and it's chopped. The pieces are a little bit bigger. And I don't know, I just like garlic maybe compressed a little bit more, chopped a little bit more, a little more finer, especially for sauteing, with sauteing shrimp and other items. I don't know, I just like a little bit finer. So what I have is one of those, I can't remember the name of it, if it's an Oster. It's an immersion blender. An immersion. A hand one, and you can pick them up at, well, I know like Ace Hardware has them. But if you go into a hardware store or places that have them, they're very nice to have. I use it for several different sauces. It's actually a very, very handy item to have.
So you stick it right in the jar and get them all done.
I'll just take it and I'll just work it and work it and grind it up to make it a little bit finer. Now, from there, what we're going to do is we're going to take. This is actually about 3/4 of a tablespoon of light soy sauce. You can probably use regular soy sauce, but it's a lot of sodium. And you know, you got to look at it. You know, I'm using salted butter here because you know you can buy unsalted or salted, and I suppose I should have said that from the very beginning. This is a regular salted butter. So since I don't want it to get too salty, I use a light sodium soy sauce. Okay. So I just more or less will put that in.
That's about how much you say?
That is about 3/4 of a tablespoon.
Okay.
A lot of these recipes were kind of guesses. I don't know if I want to use the word guesses, but they were kind of estimations.
So you just came up with this?
I had a base recipe, and unfortunately I have a bad habit of sometimes adjusting things.
That's a good habit.
But you know,
makes it your own.
We'll go and we'll find something that's like, well, how can we make it better? So we'll try it, and so that's kind of what it is. Now, what we're going to do now, this is lemon juice, and it's the same amount. You go about 3/4 of a tablespoon of lemon juice. The next thing I have is I have 2 tablespoons of dried parsley.
That'll give it some great color.
Yes, it'll definitely good color. Now, salt and pepper. Now, do remember, you do have sodium already in here. So just a pinch. If I would guess, I would say maybe less than 1/4 teaspoon, but just just pinch it, and you're just putting a very little light sprinkling.
Now that looks like a nice salt you've got there. Is that a sea
This
salt?
no, this is actually kosher salt.
Oh, I love the texture of that.
Yep. That's about the only thing we use around here. Now, out on our tables, we have regular table salt, but as far as our cooking, kosher. It's lighter, lighter tasting, and because table salt can be a little on the aggressive side. Now, basically, what I'm doing here, once again, I'm using pepper, just regular ground black pepper, and I'm just a pinch. You don't need much. So, on your salt and pepper, it's just a little pinch.
I can't stop breathing it. It smells so good already.
So now what I'm going to have to do is put this together, and we'll see if we can get this worked. Okay, we'll take a look here and see. That looks pretty good.
Oh, it's beautiful. It reminds me, though, too, of making a dough with your dough hook, and it's going around, and all of a sudden you know you're getting somewhere when it all clumps up like that.
Now what I'm going to have to do is kind of take this apart, and obviously we don't want to waste anything if we can absolutely help it. From this point, I just kind of stir it around a little bit, make sure everything else has been incorporated in. And I have a piece of saran wrap over on this other table, and I'm going to go and put it on that and try to make a roll out of it.
Oh, so get it back into a shape?
Yep,
well, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to make this into a log for easier cutting here after it chills.
Look at all that flavor.
Oh, it is. The first time I made this, I looked at it and I didn't think it looked too terribly appealing, but the smell, the aroma, it was fantastic.
Makes you crave things. I think it'd be good on bread.
We've had people ask for it to see if they could have it on their potatoes. Most of the time it is available. Now gets the more interesting part. I have to attempt to get this into some sort of log here, and this is where it's... Yeah, we don't want to lose that, do we? So
Darn, I probably could have snuck it out of here. What was I thinking?
You just go around the corner with it, it's no problem. But, so I'll kind of start it like that. And now my hands are a little on the dirty side, so I will lose those gloves because I won't be touching it anymore. So I just kind of fold this over, and then I'll work one roll, and then I just kind of start spreading it out and evening it up a little bit. Then I'll bring the other outside flaps back in. Now what I'm trying to do here is basically make a form of a log. So now I got the saran wrap around, so now what I'm going to try to do is just kind of even it up a little bit. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm using my hands and kind of tapping it on the edge, and I'm kind of rolling it out.
And what we're doing here, this is not to add any flavor. This is just so that it's easier to handle when you're ready to use it.
Absolutely, is that right? Absolutely. Because what your thought process should be here is, now I got it rolled out, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and I'll chill it. So the theory is actually here is when the steaks are about done cooking, take a small paring knife and you'll just slice, you'll be able to cut it into slices. That way you can put a slice on the steak while it's finishing. So that's really all you have to do on that.
Do you want me to stick this in the fridge for you? So the reason we made that wonderful smelling and delicious looking butter is because we're going to put it on a steak. And Scott starts out with these big steaks. Why don't you tell us how you came about getting this recipe for your restaurant?
Well, what we ran into, it's really been no secret in the beef industry, but the prices right now have skyrocketed really over about the last year or so. Well, we wanted to come up with something or have something that might be a little bit, people could still get a steak but not have to pay a tremendous amount for it. So this is, we thought, well, why not a sirloin? And we had tried some before, we'd gotten some and did a little bit of experimenting, and we thought, you know, with the economics being the way it is, we could buy a whole sirloin and we more than likely could have what we believe is a fairly affordable product, and you're still getting steak.
I noticed this part looked really kind of tough.
Okay.
Is this one of the places you want to cut off?
Yes. Now what'll happen, when I take this sirloin out of its bag, you have your fat side right here. I'll flip it over, and there's actually right here, it's almost like a real thin piece of leather, and it's really thin. Trim it off. It is not that overwhelming for anybody to cut one of these, and I will tell you, it is such a good buy. Where you could be looking
and you
at,
can control how thick it is for
you
your
can
taste.
cut whatever size. We just happened to choose an 8-ounce size, but you could have 12-ounce sirloin or however thick you want it.
Let me ask you this. Most people probably around here in the beef country know, but this is not the brand of the meat. This is the
grading. Yes, and I will tell you, generally speaking, you're not going to see much as far as for prime that's going to be available. It's very hard for even restaurants to get. But what you can get is Choice and Select. Go with the Choice. There's nothing wrong with Select. It just means there's not as much marbling in the meat.
Right.
Unfortunately, for my sake, I love marbling because it makes for a juicy, more flavorful steak.
Okay, so just give us a quick idea of how you're going to cut it.
Okay. Now, if somebody buys one of these, easiest thing to do first, once you take it out of its bag, flip it over. You might want to rinse it off under cold water. Clean it up. From that point, flip the fat side over to expose the underside. Start your trim. Trim off this leather looking, and it'll stick out. You'll see it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Take it out, throw it away, cut out this fat.
Yeah, we did that. And
then what you want to do, flip it back over, cut it right in half. Since it's going to take a little while to cut, take the 1/2, put it in refrigeration. Keep it cold.
Okay, does that make it easier to cut?
Yep, sure does. Absolutely. Now what you're going to do is with this half piece that you got here, spin it around, and you'll have this little, and then you can just start cutting your steaks across this way.
Thick as you want them, probably.
Yep, thick as you want to, thick as you want them.
And you have some pre-cut for us, because we're going to use a really interesting method that Eric has developed.
Yep,
so,
we got some that's already cut.
All right, let's pull those out. Okay, so Eric's bringing us over the steaks that have already been cut into what Scott has told us are about 8-ounce portions. I'm going to have Eric show us how to do this, because I think he's like the inventor of this new method, and I'm really excited to see it.
It is certainly unconventional in those matters. I mean, you hear brining and you don't necessarily associate it with steaks.
Right. I've done it with poultry or something.
Poultry, you know, other forms of, well, pork, and that's another one. But
so he has a new thing. Instead of just marinating, he's gone a step further and made it into a brine. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
All right, and to make the brine, what we're going to use for these 4 steaks here is a quart of cold water, ice cold water.
Very, very cold?
Very cold. So you can get it out of the refrigerator, or you can measure it out ahead of time, a couple of hours, and just chill it in the fridge.
Oh, ooh, it is very cold. He's not lying.
All right, with this quart of cold water, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of just sugar.
Sugar, okay.
Then along with that, we're going to use 1 tablespoon of kosher salt.
I guessed that one with the brine. I didn't expect the sugar, so let's see that.
Yeah. what we do with that is we just work it into a solution, work down the salt to where it's broken down.
So you can't see the little chunks?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you stir this for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how coarse the salt is. I would say we have it broken down.
Those pieces of meat already look really good, so
oh,
let's see.
And let's hope they'll be even better after this.
Okay.
All right, so all you do now is you just place the sirloin into that solution.
Now, do you know what is happening in there? And how long are we going to leave it in?
What we typically do is we leave it in for 24 hours. And that's, yeah.
So longer than, if I'm marinating, usually I leave it in a couple of hours maybe, but
yeah,
the brining will be 24 hours?
Yeah, because the intense flavors that you would typically find in a marinade, you know, a lot of your peppers and your soy sauces and such, you know, you're not going to need, well, 24 hours to marinate a piece of meat. But with this solution here, what it's going to do is it's actually going to work its way into the meat, and it's going to tenderize it, plump it up, if you will. So it's going to turn it into a much juicier and much more tender piece of meat.
So do we have to wait 24 hours, or do you have some that have already been brining?
You know what? I think we've kind of lucked out in that regard.
Awesome.
And
did you have to cover them or anything?
Yeah, you know, we've got a cover for them. You just put a piece of saran wrap over it and stick it back in the fridge.
Yeah, otherwise they'll smell like everything in your fridge.
Exactly.
Gross.
Exactly.
Oh, now those look a little different. They look almost like pork to me now.
Yeah,
is this okay?
This is perfectly normal. I mean, they're going to turn color. They're going to get very ugly, I guess, if you will. I mean, from a normal piece of beef.
But we should not fear it?
Not fear it one bit.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they're plenty flavorful as we speak. So
these have been in there about 24 hours in the brine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then do we need to do anything else with them? Season them? Anything?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, all you do is sprinkle on a little bit of kosher salt.
Before you put them on, let's go and check on the carrots really quick.
That's a good idea.
Okay, wait a minute. So you've been working on the carrots, huh?
Yes, what I went and did is I got a pound of baby carrots, which you can buy at the grocery store, and what we're going to do is a glazed carrot. So what I did is I got water in this pan.
Did you season the water at all?
No, I did not season the water, so all I got is just water in there. I put a cover on it. Once it started boiling, make sure the water's boiling. From that point, I dumped the carrots in here, and roughly about 20 minutes. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 3 tablespoons of butter.
3 tablespoons.
And then what I got is a 1/4 cup of brown sugar.
Okay.
I got a 1/4 cup of water. And then I got roughly about a teaspoon of kosher salt.
You guys love the kosher salt.
Kosher is milder, so if you're using regular salt, you might think maybe 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon probably. Don't use a teaspoon of regular salt in this.
Okay.
It'd be too strong. I'm trying hopefully not to make it too terribly salty, and that's always one thing that you can most certainly do. But definitely kosher salt in your cooking is really a lot better. So, because you can always add salt, but once you get too much salt in, you've already... So basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of breaking this down, stirring it, and trying to incorporate everything in there. And eventually our carrots should be getting about done.
Wow, that cooks so quickly.
Yep, and not in a big hurry for it, but I just kind of want to get it, make sure it's all stirred and broken down. And then basically what we want to do is we want to be able to eventually add the carrots then to this mixture.
Are you going to add the carrots in the water or strain them out of the water?
No, what I'm going to do is I got a little strainer here, so what I'll do is
those new spoons.
I'll scoop it out and I'll add the carrots to this pan. Now, The only reason I'm doing it like this is because I really don't have a place. If I was doing this during my service, what I would be doing is I would be taking the pan back to the back, and then I would be straining back in the sink there. But I do not really have all I have is a hand sink, so this is why I'm using this.
Okay.
But in other words, I normally would strain this in the sink, and then I wouldn't have to use another pan. I could go back and use the same pan. So technically you could use the same pan as long as you have a place to strain the water.
So there's not that much importance to this being browned or anything.
No.
You could have put it right over the carrots.
I could have put it. Fact of the matter is, when I did this last night, I wanted a little treat in between service. I like carrots. So I went ahead and made the carrots, strained it, and I just threw everything in there and let it break down along with the carrots. You can do that.
Okay.
As long as the carrots cook. What I do is I'll usually pull out a carrot and I'll see how the fork goes in, if it goes in real easy. But the best way to do it is by just pulling one out and taste testing. Find it is it done enough? And that's how I do it. I mean, I would much rather do it that way. You can pretty well go by a timer and you'll be close. Well, we should be probably where we need to be.
And you just had the baby carrots that are already peeled and cleaned, so you just had to dump them in.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat back on this glaze.
Look at that bubble up. See, this is why I need a gas stove. I can't believe how quickly you're able to get that to temp.
Once you have a gas stove, you won't want to go back. They're beautiful.
I love that there's not a lot of color in that water too, so you didn't lose that many nutrients in it.
No, really I didn't. So now all I'm going to do is just more or less let the water that we added just kind of boil over.
That off.
Boil it off.
Now, if you had done it with your other method where you didn't have the two pans, would you still have added the water?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just kind of prolongs the glazing process. Adding the water.
And how are you going to wait till these get brown, or?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait till this actually breaks down, and you won't really see much of anything but just glaze. There won't be as many bubbles. Now you might have a little bit more of the brown sugar and butter part, which is absolutely fine. But the main thing is I'm just trying to get rid of the majority of the liquid that's in there.
Okay. Carrots already have a little bit of sweetness for a vegetable, so this brown sugar will probably really bring that out.
Oh yeah. Now I've seen other recipes, and you could probably bump this up a little bit. Maybe instead of using water, use orange juice.
Hey, I made my sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving that way. I wonder if these will taste like sweet potatoes. These are a lot of similar ingredients, I think.
It's very similar to a candied yam, but it's a carrot. And it's just, I don't know, I have a tendency for sweetness in a lot of my items. Now you can see we've already lost a little bit of the liquid. And there really isn't any type of time frame that you really have to look at. You know, you could still leave some of that glaze in. You know, the liquid that's in there right now, a lot of it is bubble.
Probably a lot of this though is you're wanting to get some of that flavor infused into that carrot.
I want that carrot coated at best I can.
Ooh,
okay, I think we're about done here. I'm ready to actually put it over into a bowl, and then I'll put it away and keep it warm.
Okay, so you're going to let those rest a little bit. I am going to check on our steaks.
Very good, Deborah.
Hey, Eric, what have you done with my steak here?
Well, we've already got them on the grill, and now we're ready to flip them.
Okay, it looks like you put a little bit of salt and pepper on them.
Yes, a little bit of salt, kosher salt, of course.
Hey, how'd you get the grill marked square when it's only a line? Did you move them a little bit?
Yes, what I did was I started out with them at about a 30-degree angle or so. Basically what I do is I then rotate it basically the opposite of that. You know, another 60 degrees back the other way to get that nice diamond look.
I didn't catch you doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's kind of ugly.
That side must not be as hot there.
Yes, not nearly as hot as it is over here.
Look at that one. So
Yeah.
it might make a difference on if I like it one way, it might make a difference on where I would put it on the grill then.
Yeah, it absolutely makes a difference on where you'd put it on the grill. If you like it maybe pink in the center, then you would have it on a certain part of the grill, maybe where it's a little cooler. And really, with a lot of steaks, it's kind of a visual thing more than anything. Once you get them flipped, you're going to give it another couple of minutes to establish some more grill marks on that side. Then you'll rotate it back again for that final rotation, and well, just about ready to go. But I'm not going to rotate these until I start to see a little bit of color coming through the steak, a little bit of red.
Oh, like some juices coming to the top?
Yep, the juices will come to the top of the steak, and that's basically my sign that it's about time to rotate.
So you're always going to do these by sight. What if you were going to do it by temperature? What if you're a beginner and you really want to make sure you got it right?
Well, this is something a lot of beginners don't necessarily know, and that is that a steak, once it's taken off the grill, it's going to continue to cook.
Okay.
And so it could raise between 5 and 10 degrees from the time that it's taken off the grill. So it's very important that when you take it off the grill, you're maybe a little under what you typically would eat it at, so that way it cooks up to what you prefer.
Is this why they always tell you to let your meat rest too
Yes,
after you cook
exactly, exactly. And it actually helps the meat retain moisture.
Aha, this is the secret right
This
here.
is the secret.
So when that doesn't
Now
look
you
like
can-
the grill.
Yes, you can kind of see the rotations that I'm making here.
Yeah, I see the liquids coming up a little bit.
Yeah,
as
you
went.
can kind of see it maybe on the steaks here.
I don't know if it's the grill, but it smells really good.
Oh, it smells wonderful. It smells wonderful. And at this point in time, it's about time to put the chive butter on the steak.
Oh, do we have that ready?
Yes, as a matter of fact, just right over here.
Ah, he already cut it for us.
Yes, how convenient, right? So you're basically going to take this chive butter, place it right on the center of the steak.
Oh, I hope you can see the color on that butter. It is just fantastic.
Yes. Oop. I'll set this aside.
So by the time this gets to the plate, if it's sitting on here, it'll probably be like hidden. It'll look like just green.
Yes, and even to help it along a little bit, we'll take our tongs and we'll just kind of, well, move it around the steak a little bit, so that way the entire steak has that butter
It really
all
gives
over
it a look like it's been really heavily seasoned too, with all of that green spice in there.
Yeah, oh, it really
Parsley and the green onion.
yes, makes for a very beautiful steak.
I think this butter is really going to be a staple in my kitchen.
I'll tell you what, as easy as it is, it ought to be. It ought to be. I'm not gonna lie, these are just about ready to go.
Awesome. Okay, so while you get these on the thing, I'm going to go find a seat so we can enjoy them sitting down.
Sounds good.
I'll see you in a bit.
All right.
Okay, Deborah, we got the plate finalized here.
Look at my little dollop of butter.
We ended up, we usually serve our meal with a piece of Texas toast also.
Oh, so I got a bonus.
Yes, which we finished off on our flat top.
Okay. And is there anything special you do with your Texas toast?
No,
or?
it's basically a butter spread that is put on, and then we just
So what do you
grill it.
recommend trying first?
That is strictly up to you.
Here's what I really wanted to do. If I can find a little piece of steak without the special butter, I wanted to see what happens just from the brining. Well, I have to know. It's very good. It does. It tenderizes it a little and gives it a little flavor. I know. I can't wait to spread it on some of that butter. Even though it seems weird calling it butter because it's like green, because of all that green onion. Oh my God. I bet. You serve this at your restaurant, right?
Yep. Usually on Thursday nights.
I'm telling you
It's the only
what.
time that we do it.
If any of this accidentally fell off my steak, I would definitely be rubbing my bread through it and getting every scrap of that butter.
Very good.
Okay, now I'm gonna try carrots. Everyone knows this is a big day for me. I haven't had a carrot in 14 years, ever since the infamous carrot diet of 1998. So I'm really excited, scared, nervous. That is delicious.
Thank you.
Nothing offensive at all, actually, and that little bit of salt really contrasts well with the sweetness on that glaze. And it's a beautiful location right here on the golf course in Phillipsburg. We're inside a nice, beautiful open area. It'd be great for meetings and gatherings. And I love out there where you can look over the beautiful golf course.
Well, we look at it like this. We have 3 degrees of separation here for functions. We can have a private function out in our veranda. We could have a function right here in this mid-level, and we could also have a function down on the lower level. So it's so much different than what we had in the past. If we had something private come up, we would have to close down for a whole night. Not now. We can handle any size from out there, maybe around 40 people. We can get a 40 to 50 in this area, in this middle area where we're at now. Down below, I would say maybe comfortably we could probably do 80 to 100.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that no one would miss the opportunity to have supper here just because you have a private event. It sounds awesome.
That's what's really nice.
Yeah.
That
Eric,
we don't have to turn people away.
thank you so much for the steak.
Well,
and
you're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and get busy with these carrots. It's a big day for me for the carrots. So thank you for joining us on Local Flavor. We'll see you next time.